Okay, everybody, welcome back. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of introducing you to Kristi Kapp, CEO, RDH. Kristi is passionate about quantifying dental team performance through a culture of trust. She understands not only the importance of KPIs, but how to help every team member improve them. With over 3 decades of dental practice experience, from working as a dental assistant to a hygienist to multi-practice owner to consultant, Kristi understands the ins and outs of running a dental business. She has provided practice management seminars to hundreds of dental professionals and DSOs, mid-market and single-owner dental practices across 48 states. Kristi teaches dental professionals the systems and strategies she used to increase production by $700,000 in just 12 months with one less doctor. Founder of DIY Practice Management, Kristi's online training platform includes 50 plus training videos covering everything from defining practice identity and setting goals to the steps to running a profitable business. Now you can tell why we love her. She enjoys meeting, speaking for, and coaching with dental professionals across the country. Here's what else you need to know about Kristi. She's a mother of 4. She has, 5 grandkids, I think, making sure that that's right. 5 grandkids. She is born and raised here in Utah. And fun fact, she's also my mom. I chose my mom for our 3rd episode because my mom, as you'll hear in this episode, has taught me so much about running your business, and I want to teach the rest of you everything that she's bestowed upon me. We talk today about the benefits of running a profitable business, whether it's a dental practice like she does or a small business like we do. We talk about monitoring as a business owner, what you need to be watching out for, and the importance of monitoring those metrics. It's not just about having numbers in your head. It's about affecting real change. So everybody give a warm welcome to my beautiful mom, Kristi Kapp. Welcome to the Profitability Podcast. I'm Joey.
And I'm Mackenzie.
Join us as we explore success in business and life, proving that while finance may not feel sexy, profitability is. Tell us about Kristi Kapp, mother of golden child Joey Albertson, and all the reasons that I am your favorite child. Ready, go.
It helps that you're like a mini me and that you are the child that listened to all my lectures and webinars and can spew them back out at will. Just makes my life worth living. So it's true. Golden is a good color. It works for you. Not gonna lie. Proud of everything you guys are doing, and I think you guys are doing an awesome job. And I'm glad one of my kids listened to me. Anyway,
One of 4.
One of 4.
The only one.
No.
I have it on record.
I love all my kids for different reasons, but Joey listened to my work stuff, so it makes me love her for that reason for sure.
I'm really interested to hear, like, when we go through this today, how much comes out that Kenzie and Becca are going to go, oh, I've heard that before.
Here's my secret, and here's Joey's secret, is that neither of us have come up with an original thought in our life. Anything I say today, I did not come up with on my own. I had amazing mentors throughout my entire life and my entire career. And I have lots of people to thank for who I am today. And I'm lucky enough to, at age 54, say my career has gone exactly as I'd hoped. Does it mean that I haven't failed? No, I failed epically. There have been some really rough months and almost years, and the lessons I learned were very, very valuable, but very, very difficult and painful. But I'm still here. That's the crazy thing. The sun still comes up, and that's the good thing. Some days you're like, I don't know, but other days it gets to the point. If you learn from them, you'll get in the direction that you want to go. And I'm really happy with where I'm at.
Okay, well, you're jumping way ahead. So we're going to get there. Tell us, I mean, Like we've introduced you as a dental consultant. You're the owner of DIY Practice Management, used to be Dental Metrics. You work in the dental field, but I think a lot of what you teach, and especially the stuff I'm going to ask you about today, is so applicable to really all small businesses. And so just walk us through quick timeline of your life/career.
It is the only job I've ever had is in dental. But I really did fall in love with the business side of it. So yes, you're right. A lot of what I focus on and kind of my niche is the business side of dentistry. I was born into it. My dad was a dentist, and I can remember sectioning on a crown prep when I was like probably 10. He had an emergency and it was off hours and my mom couldn't go or whatever. And he had me sit in the chair in section, and I was fascinated. I was from the get go. And then, during the summers in high school and whatnot, I started as a sterile tech and then chairside assistant, and really fell in love with dental hygiene. I thought, that's for me. I want to go to hygiene school. So that's what I did, and got licensed and practiced hygiene for 16 years. Loved it. And I don't know if Joey loved it as much as I did. It was a nice little out for me with little kids. As much as I adore you, sweetie, it's always good to have a little break as a mom.
We get that all too well.
Used to hold some resentment for that. Now it's come back around.
Yeah. Depending on what nanny you had at the time, right?
So true. Yes.
I was fortunate enough. One of my first mentors was definitely my dad, and the fact that he taught me the business side of it, and that he was lucky enough to have parents who owned a restaurant and knew how to run a business and customer service, and taught the importance of quality and serving the customer and doing it well. And so from a young age, I would say even 13, I was going to dental meetings with him and his staff. Got a great education from, the top consultants through my teenage years, went to hygiene school, continued that relationship with my dad and all the education he provided as I worked for him as a hygienist. And then after he retired, kind of a happenstance meeting where I met a gal who was starting her own consulting firm, and I was her first employee. And she sent me around the country and to all different kind of dental offices to help them with their profitability and their growth and their patient care, and worked for probably two of the biggest consulting firms in the country, but now I work for myself and love it. I still love it. After all these years, I still love it. I just came back from a staff meeting for one of my clients, and it still a kick in the pants. So I love helping them. How old am I? Right? Say whoopsie daisies or something like that.
We talk a lot. Well, I talk a lot, especially in our course, about your dad and your grandpa, my grandpa and great grandpa, who my son is actually named after my great grandpa, who was the restaurant owner that you're talking about, and how, yes, that makes me fourth generation entrepreneur on one side, third generation entrepreneur on the other, third or fourth. And so, yeah, I've kind of lived in a world, grew up in the kind of paints the picture of where it all came from for me. But yeah, I also thought I was going to go dental for a long time until I didn't. I didn't section at 10 years old. I never went that far, but I do remember going to grandpa to get, my teeth cleaned and all of that for many, many years. And then he retired when I was in 6th grade, I think. And then I remember him kind of converting to just truly a grandpa.
I got you working for me. You were a hygiene assistant and a dental assistant.
That's true. So I worked as a dental hygiene assistant the last couple of years in high school. And then, and we'll talk about this, but you opened your own practice and I came and worked for you right around the time I met Mark and right before we moved to Washington. So it was kind of a front row seat. And all during that time I spent so many years. Like I remember coming with you to some town in Wyoming to hear you pitch, and we would go on road trips together or and then after I worked for you and you kind of did your own thing, you did seminars consistently and I listened to a lot of those. And so I feel like it's been ingrained in me, but that was also 12 years ago.
12 years ago. But the cool thing is, and I'm just as proud because a lot of what I did was by the numbers. And I ran my practices by the numbers. I ran the metrics of all my consulting clients by the numbers. I still do. And the fact that you went into bookkeeping and running, helping people be profitable by the numbers makes me just as proud. So
it is kind of a full circle moment because the finance thing kind of came happenstance, which we've talked about, but like it all kind of came together. It all started making sense about 2 years ago. I'm like, oh, look, I still am taking all of these things from the greats, Stephen Covey, Zig Ziglar, who else? I mean, there's just so many. So, okay. So you went and you traveled the country and you consulted different dental practices on running their business by the numbers. Tell us more about what you do now and how that's kind of.
I evaluate the dental office's metrics, if you will, to see how well they're serving their patients. In our profession in dentistry, it's, it really is, unless they're having a toothache, what's an emergency, a lot of it's prevention. A lot of it's, oh, you've got some cavities, they're not hurting yet, but we should fill them now. And the patient has got to decide, is this something I'm going to spend my money on? I've got this much is going to be paid by insurance. It's going to cost me this much out of pocket. Do they say yes to what we are selling, if you will, or what's best for them? And so we talk a lot about case acceptance and are we educating the patient on what is going on in their mouth? Because to them, they don't have a very good viewpoint like we do. We can read x-rays. We can look in their mouth better than they can. We can tell them what's going on and the benefits and risks of investing in their mouth. So, we are educating people on their oral health, but in a way it's kind of like sales and any other business. So, are they buying what the benefits of healthcare or oral care, and the risks if they don't. So we talk a lot about case acceptance, and dentists don't really get trained on in dental school on how to present to the patient what they're seeing. In fact, I was just talking today to an office whose hygienist is just overloading their patients with education and fire hosing them with information. She just came out of hygiene school and she is just so excited with everything she learned the last 3 years that she has to tell the world about it and nobody cares. The team's like, can you help her just kind of dumb down her sales pitch? And we don't really call it a sales pitch, but for this podcast purpose, I'm going to call it a sales pitch. We call it case presentation. And how well do you close the gap between the needs of the patient and all the education in your head, and can you meet them in the middle? So I helped them with that, and then we measure that. And do you want me to go into the numbers and why you've got to run your business by the numbers?
I do,
because that's one of my favorite things. Am I getting ahead of myself?
No, you're right on track. I want to make an important distinction though really quickly, because you talk about educating the patient and investing in oral health and all of these things. And here's what I grew up learning is running your business by the numbers and coaching a dental practice to be profitable is not the same thing as teaching them to be slimy, teaching them to oversell, teach them to sell something that's not the best thing for the patient, teach them to do things that they wouldn't recommend otherwise because we need to get profitability up. And so I think it's important, whether we're talking dentistry or small business, that when we say things like profitability and running your business by the numbers, you and I don't come in here and our job isn't to say, okay, well, everybody get your corporate hat on. And I think I get this a lot, right? Like I always picture the guy from the Lorax, like Mr. O'Hare, whatever his name is, short corporate guy that sold all the trees and now he sells air, because he can. Profitability is not selling air. It's not selling the highest ticket item. It's not selling something that a patient or a customer doesn't need. It's just monitoring the things that they do need and finding a way to give that to them and bridging that gap. And so I love that when you teach dentists, and I know this because I've heard it 1,000 times, when you teach dentists, you don't go in and say, well, they could get a filling, but let's upgrade that to a crown to increase profitability. That's not the strategy here. The strategy is if we educate them that if they get a crown, they won't have to do 2 fillings in the next 20 years. It will last them 20 years. And that's actually cheaper for them. And it's better for their oral health and XYZ. I'm just, spitting things out. Then the bottom line automatically increases because you took care of your patients or you took care of your clients. So when we're talking about running your business by the numbers, and I'm going to let you get into it, I just want to do it through this lens of we're not here to sell air. We're here to help our clients, help our customers. We're super passionate about that, especially in the dental world where it's their physical health. We're not here to sell air. We're here to, as Kristi Kapp says, do a triple win. Win for the customer, win for the business, win for you. Shoot, I lost it. Okay.
Yeah, the team, the employees. Perfect segue. In fact, every single PowerPoint I've ever made for every presentation starts with a slide that says disclaimer. Just because we're talking about dollars does not mean I'm all about the money. It has to be a triple win. You will not be fulfilled in life if you don't check off all 3 boxes. If you can't say if you're shortchanging the patient or you're taking advantage of the patient, you're going to be unhappy. It's going to catch up to you. There's kind of 2 schools of thought right now in the profession. And big corporations that own a lot of practices, often have quotas for their dentists saying, you need to do this many crowns a month, this many root canals. And it's just yucky. And I have always, thank goodness, I was taught by my dad. I was taught by the other consulting firms that I worked for that I just adored. Maximize and focus on the individual patient or client or customer, whatever their needs are. They're going to be different from the guy in the next dental chair, in the next room. Help them understand their needs, and they will, and the money will follow. Don't try and put every round, every unique shaped patient into the same square hole. You're going to be frustrated and tired and burned out. And if you can take care of the patient well, take care of your team well, because they will take care of your patients well. Like Richard Branson says of Virgin Airlines, take care of your employees first. They'll take care of your patients or your clients. And then the profitability will follow. That's the triple win. And unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, I haven't had any experience really with any other professions or businesses, but in dentistry, that triple win just works every time. And if you can focus on maximizing the needs of the individual, the value of that appointment will bring the profits. Instead of trying to, we're going to cut everybody's appointment down by 10 minutes and you got to go faster. It just creates burnout.
Yeah, there's definitely a fine line between, okay, let's watch these numbers and see what we can do to maximize profits, and getting sleazy. And in small businesses, we work with small women-owned businesses, and no one that I work with right now is in the business to only make money. Most of my clients, I would say, well, actually all of my clients and most of the people that I interact with are in it because they're passionate about something else. We talk about finding your why every 5 minutes around here. That is so much a part of the equation. Profitability keeps you in business and lets you execute on your why. But we're not just here to say numbers, 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 systems. We're saying marry this plus this, and you will get automatic profitability. So talk to us about, and initially when you started, your company was called Dental Metrics. That's how passionate you are about winning by the numbers. Talk to us about how you got into the business of running dental practices by the numbers. What inspired that mindset shift for you going from clinician to businesswoman?
It started soon after hygiene school. I was a hygienist, maybe even before that. My dad, dentistry is hard work. You're working in a really teeny tiny space on a live patient that's not asleep most often, and who's anxious, and you're doing really minute physical work that people don't want to pay for, and it's hard and stressful. And so he had the great idea one day that he's going to build car washes and that he would retire by just having this machine that makes a lot of money, and he wouldn't have to drill on teeth anymore. Which was kind of unfortunate because he was so good at what he did. He was a really good dentist and always was busy, always, had a profitable practice. But he had this great idea. So he had this side business going on while I was his employee, and he was emotionally absent as an owner and a boss. He was taking phone calls from, managers at the car wash in between patients and just stressed, wasn't sleeping. It was needless to say, it was like a 10-year nightmare for him, and he got out of it and retired from his dental practice, financially stable, thank goodness. But during that time that he was emotionally unavailable, and he was such a natural leader too. He's passed away now, so that's why I'm talking to him in the past tense. But he hired a consultant at the time, and she came in, and this is because I'm old as dirt. This was in the 1900s. She came in with her whiteboard. It wasn't a chalkboard. It was whiteboard.
Progressive. Wow.
Right? She was like cutting edge. And she would have us each report our numbers for the month. And we had to go up there with a marker and in front of everybody and write down our numbers. For a hygienist, I'm a provider, so I actually had production or revenue, if you would, numbers that I would report. What was my production per hour, per day, per month, kind of thing. And we could benchmark against other dental practices and see how we were doing. And then she'd kind of teach us systems and standard of care that maybe we weren't, that we were falling short in maybe, or that we didn't know about. And man, we broke revenue records, even though our owner and leader wasn't really available. He was there, he was present, but he was so stressed, he just had nothing to give. And she walked us through by the numbers, and we killed it. And we felt good about it. And it was again, serving those individual needs of the patients, knowing our standard of care, knowing what we should offer to them, knowing what to say and when, and our case presentation or our sales pitch, if you will, closing that gap of knowledge between us and the patient. And our numbers just rocked it. And then between that, being married to an econ grad, an MBA husband who had his own experiences with his consulting clients, particularly IHG hotels, where he went in as a consultant and, gathered the metrics from the employees and presented it, became very transparent. Their revenue went up just by looking at the target, And I guess it came full circle, as I often do, tie my business into sports analogies. um, as a high school basketball player, we were really focused on fundamentals. Our coach was so good at just making us go over fundamentals. And the first game of the season came up. We were projected to do really, really well. We were behind at halftime, and I thought we were just going to get reamed, the first game of the season at halftime. And she came in and she goes, guys, you are running the X's and O's perfectly. But you're forgetting the point of those X's and O's is to shoot and score and win. And you can't win if you don't score, and you can't score if you don't shoot. So you can go run the plays all day long, but there's a basket there that you're supposed to shoot at and capitalize on those X's and O's and everything I've taught you. And we came out of the second half and just blew them away and won. So whatever winning is for you, whether it's hitting a number of revenue dollars per month, whatever it is, you need to see that target and you need to know what that number is and then break it down to find out, how we're going to get there. What's the why behind the what? I wouldn't ask you to shoot a foul shot with a blindfold on and say, okay, make 9 out of 10. No, I'll look at the target. And I'd say probably to finish that circle of stories on metrics would be the difference between, that consultant and my dad running us by the numbers. And then when he sold the practice and retired, the new owner did not. And he kept those numbers to himself. He wanted to keep his cards close. He didn't think it was any of our business. Now, there are some numbers I probably wouldn't show all the expenses and profit losses to, the hygienist or the assistant or the sterile tech. Not everybody needs to see the profit loss. But everybody needs to know what's expected of them and some kind of measurement to achieve that, or they're not going to be fulfilled.
Yes, because that's not the basketball analogy that I wanted you to share.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Yes, but before I do want you to share that. I think that I want to go back because I talk a lot about in finance, obviously, like now it's all coming together for people probably, maybe even my team where this all comes from. But I think that as contributors, as finance people, I want to look at the numbers. Data doesn't lie. I'm all about don't go based on your feeling. And what I think that what could have happened when Grandpa, your dad, was emotionally unavailable, as you said, which I think is hysterical, when he's distracted and not, 100% invested in the business, it probably felt like if you weren't tracking everything, it probably felt like things were falling apart in a lot of ways. And it probably felt like revenue wasn't there or, whatever. And then it might turn into the blame game even. Oh, well, he's distracted. So what am I supposed to do? The business is falling apart because that's not on me, whatever. And so to have the numbers to hold yourself against, data doesn't lie. And, I do believe in following your gut in business and all of those things. I have even come to learn that I'm a little bit into the manifestation thing, but it's because of this. It's because if you put the number on the target, you're 10 times more likely to find it and reach it. And so in a way, I guess that's finance meets manifestation. But when you have the data on a daily, monthly, quarterly, yearly basis, whatever it might be, it doesn't matter if it feels like it's all falling apart because we can prove that it's not. And it doesn't, if I was a dual business owner owning a car wash and a dentist practice and I wasn't watching the numbers, I might continue to dump time and energy into the car wash for 10, 20, 50 years because it feels like that's the right move. But if I'm looking at the numbers, I know that this needs to shut down and I need to go over and focus back on here because this is running and I could probably push gas. So
you know what to course correct on.
Exactly.
Instead of just your gut feeling. Oh, I want to focus on this because that's what I'd like to focus on. And that's what and I want to ignore this. Or, if you look at the numbers, you're like, oh, hygiene's down. Let's focus on hygiene this month. Or we had a lot of no-shows. Why? And what are our systems on, helping people keep their appointments type thing. That reminds me of 2 stories. gosh, it was one of my first solo consulting gigs. And bless my boss's heart, she kept me on and didn't fire me. But she had given me the PowerPoint. She had given me what reports to pull, yada, yada, yada. And I should have been able to represent the brand very well, but I didn't. I thought, I'm so good at this. And I went in and I talked to the office manager for quite a bit. And she had convinced me of all these things going wrong. And I completely redid my presentation and did this fire hose of a seminar for the whole staff. And the doctor didn't even want to pay his bill. I'm like, gosh, I really thought it went really well, And come to find out, the office manager was this disgruntled employee that just had an axe to grind and a big chip on her shoulder, and she was super negative and toxic, and she just happened to catch my ear, and I took her opinion and based everything on that instead of pulling the reports and seeing what was actually happening, and then didn't give the customer what they wanted. So that's how I messed up epically. That one of those first few times as a consultant. After that, I thought, absolutely, go back to what I know. I will never not go by the numbers ever again, because people's opinions are based on their perspective, which are very individualized. So, yeah, who is it? Edward Deming, the total quality management guru, that said, "In God we trust, all others must bring data."
Yeah. We're like the newspaper, the word meme is coming to my head. It's not a meme. Drawing where someone's standing on this side of the letter P and someone's standing on this side, and they're going, this is a P, and they're going, this is a B, it's all relative until there's data. You're both right.
Okay, second story, and this is probably the story you were thinking of, because my first two children I coached in athletics a lot, in basketball in particular, and then I decided I couldn't be the good Christian I wanted to be, so I stopped coaching kids. The other two don't know how to play at all. So I'm coaching my oldest junior high boys basketball team, and every ride home with my husband and the kids, there would be this argument between me and my husband, what just happened? Why did we win or why did we lose? And I am like, were we at the same game? Because I don't think that's why. And he doesn't, it was just an argument every time. And like I said, he was an economist and was great at love stats. And I said, why don't you keep stats for me? I would love it if you kept stats. So a couple things happened. Probably three things happened by having numbers.
The first is that I was left in charge of the two little kids, and Tyler got a Tic Tac shoved up his nose, and we had to take him to the ER. That was the first thing that happened with my dad keeping stats.
Joey became a parent, and small injury. It dissolved. It's fine. He's fine. So, first thing that happened was arguments ceased on the way home. We were able to go over the stats together, see what happened together, be on the same page together. It was wonderful. Number two, it helped me coach my team way better. I was able to lead them and utilize my players and their talents way better than I ever thought I could have from my perspective. Example being, Cameron, my son, fouled out. Didn't have a very deep bench. There was a kid for junior high, was pretty strong. And, but in practice, it was obvious nobody wanted to be a shooting partner because he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I would say, dude, do you need glasses? Because you cannot make a shot.
Kristi, traumatizing children since 1995.
So I put his name was Kirk, and I put him in because Cameron fouled out. And Cameron was tall, and he was center, so Kirk was playing center. Wasn't that tall. Tim told me at the end of the game, in that second half, he had 10 rebounds and 10 points. And I thought, wow, I never would have thought. But I the numbers told me that when Kirk was right underneath the basket, he could muscle his way in, get the rebound, and put it right back in if he was really close to the basket. If he'd get 5-10 feet out, it's not going to happen. So I was able to utilize Kurt's talents in a way that I didn't even see before because I had the numbers. The other thing that happened, a kid named Zach, he was our natural athlete. And he would come up to me before stats and say, how many points did I have? And I'm like, I don't know. I was coaching the game. I did not keep track of how many points you got. I know you got a lot. Well, this way I was able to tell him. Tim would come down with the stats. He's like, how many points did I get, Tim? And he's like, oh, you got 20, and he would just light up, and he would always want to beat his personal best. So it self-motivated Zach to be his best every single game by tracking the numbers and knowing, okay, I had 18 last time. I want to get 20 this time, So it motivated the team members too. So yeah, it stopped the arguments, helped me coach better, helped the players become better.
Sounds like a triple win.
You guys are such good sports.
I know. Feel free to pipe in, guys.
Yeah, I know you played ball. Come on, tell me you relate to that.
I did play ball, yes. So did Becca. She did too, right?
I did.
Now we're even closer than I knew we were.
We're just like this.
Marketing guru.
What's crazy, and I was going to say this earlier, but I didn't want to unmute. But my father-in-law was actually a dentist, a pediatric dentist, and I did a little bit of hygiene stuff when I first met him, and I got into bookkeeping because my mother-in-law was doing his bookkeeping, so full circle thing for me too.
Yeah, you guys need to go help a lot of dentists. There's a lot of dentists that need your help.
We'll get on.
Oh, that's a little trauma for me.
And then there's Kinsey that was like collegiate star. Well, I can't even
Barely.
Hey, take it, girl. You did it.
I got both sides of it. I got the player side of it and then the coaching side of it.
That's true. Kinsey and I coached basketball together back in the day.
When I think of you two, I think of you commuting to work together, pregnant, and then puking when you get there.
We have trauma blocked.
There's a whole different episode about that. Okay, we don't need to get into it.
Love you, work.
As women, life demands a lot from us, but there is no reason for you to put your business goals on hold. At the Profitability Project, we understand that your business can't be your whole life. Balancing personal life and work is always hard, and we want to help you make the most of every day. We are here to craft financial strategies to help you achieve the lifestyle you want. With options ranging from online courses to done-for-you services, you'll discover new ways to maximize profitability, streamline your operations, and take the guesswork out of taxes. We have what you need to take your business to the next level. Interested? Learn more about the Profitability Project at theprofitabilityproject.com. That's theprofitabilityproject.com. Get ready to grow your business without sacrificing your entire life.
From what you know about dentistry and what you coach dentists to look at, and from what I know and what I analyze on a daily basis, curious what you think small business owners, okay, we've ingrained in them, we've brainwashed them to believe that they need to run their business by the numbers. First of all, where do they start? And second of all, what numbers? Because I know a lot of business owners that are like, I'd rather, what's the politically correct way to say this? Jump in front of a moving vehicle. Yeah. Rather than watch numbers all day. That's not why I got into this. It's not what I'm good at.
Funny story. There's a big onslaught of metric dashboards available to dentists, and I'm sure to all kinds of professions and jobs and I named my business DIY Practice Management because I really believe that dentists could just watch a few of my videos and learn how to use their dashboard and they would become experts. Yeah, they'd rather jump in front of a train.
That's why we're in business.
No, DIY Practice Management is not a thing. They want to outsource it. They, particularly in our profession, and really anybody who is in love and passionate about their why and is making a business doing their why. What makes them fulfilled, whether it's dentistry or not, in dentistry in particular, they're caregivers. They love helping people. They don't love, a few of them love the business, not many. My dad did, I did, but a lot of them just want to focus on the patients. And I think it's just insane that a lot of them are the CFO, the CEO, the COO, and the major labor force that needs to be working on teeth 8 to 5. When are you supposed to do the other things? So yeah, I still teach them the metrics to watch, and I try to keep it as simple as possible because of that. There are some consulting groups that make them go over so many numbers and they don't care. You got to keep it simple. The KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid, and find the major markers in performance to look at, because, we're all juggling a ton of different balls in the air, whatever business we're in. Something's always going to drop, and there's no shame, there's no blame. It just is. But you got to know what's dropped to pick it back up again and course correct and get back on track. So, it's different for every business. In my, depending on, who I like, my niche is to maximize the potential of every team member. That's where I get my flow from. That's my why. I want to maximize everybody's talents in why they chose to be in dentistry. And so to do that, I have to watch their individual performances. That's kind of my focus. Someone like book flow for you guys, you can speak to that a little bit better on the standard benchmarks that you would track compared to other people in their profession or businesses. Of course, like, profit loss, balance sheets, income statements, EBITDA, those kind of things. If my client is looking to sell, boy, I need book flow. I need a CFO that knows what they're doing and what they're talking about. Joey, you've helped me on a number of occasions make projections and find EBITDA for my clients so that they can be ready, they can get an evaluation and that's fair to a potential buyer, things like that. So, specifically, I don't know, I'm not going to go in. I don't think you're interested in going into the different things for a hygienist or whatever, but I think the CFO portion of it, maximizing the potential of your employees, find metrics for that, and then get a good CFO that can help you make financial decisions, so that you're not doing it by your gut. Because, specifically, I probably know more about book flow than you think I do, because Joey and I talk every day, and she knows more about my clients than they have any idea. There was one client who's like, hey, let's buy some lab equipment, and instead of outsourcing to a dental lab, we'll just buy some lab equipment and get a lab tech and we'll do it all in-house. And I'm like, I knew they were profitable enough. I thought, hey, that's a great idea. Then I ran it by Joey, and she brought to like several things that, yeah, you can do that, but this is what's going to happen in January, February, March, So I'd say that, again, performance metrics and then financial metrics are key.
I think if I can say something real fast, I think it's interesting because we come across people sometimes that think they don't need to be looking at the numbers. So like, my business doesn't need to, but this is a clear example that every type of business, dentistry, I don't know, doctors, all of them need to be looking at their numbers if they want to have that profit in the end. And so I just love what you're saying, because it's just important. And we try to teach that to people. That's what we do as finance people, try to teach them to understand their numbers. And it just goes to show that everyone needs to be looking at them.
What I found is, most of my clients, they'll have me look at the numbers and then come report and tell them the story. And again, I focus on performance, and I've had Joey join me and say, okay, now Joey, go over their finances, their cash flow or their balance sheet. That's not my expertise. I have no desire to make that my expertise. And that's why I'm so proud that book flow is a thing, because she's taken, what I've taught her and then taken it to the next level, to the financial level, which is so just as important. The two of them together is just really what makes the business go and get off kind of the roller coaster of, oh, I made a dumb decision here, so then now we're, cash flow's down here. Oh, a smart decision there. Why don't we just keep an eye on it and make smart decisions all the time? And the little bit of dips are really just human nature, the human factor that happened to all of us. And, I talk a lot about in case presentation or sales, which is kind of a dirty word in dentistry, of patients will have objections or conditions. They won't do treatment based on whether they have objections, which are usually, I don't have time, I don't have the money, or I'm afraid of pain. But then there's conditions like, I got to pay for a wedding, or my cancer treatment, or I just lost my job. Those things, conditions, you put a pin in it, higher priority than dentistry. Absolutely. There's nothing we can do. We are here for you when your life gets better. We still want to be your dentist. Give us a call when you're ready, kind of thing. But objections, time, money, and pain, we can help you with that. We can help you with that. We can make it affordable. We can make it pain-free. And what's your schedule? And we can work around it.
Because you're talking about it, we have to mention it.
Just go. I know what you're going to say.
We have to talk about it.
There was a test. You're going to pass.
That one was a good refresher for me. I had forgotten objections versus conditions. So I love that. But now we have to talk about the ultimate way to deal with objections. So yes, running your business by the numbers, it's important. We're super passionate about it. Obviously, I got it from somewhere, and here it is. This is why. And we could probably make 10 episodes.
Not an original thought from either of us.
Let's be clear.
We are stealing from the best.
We are not actually that smart. But we could probably do 10 episodes on all of the different ways and all of the different examples and all the clients we've seen in our day and how we turned it around just by pointing out the numbers. I mean, we could go on, but because you brought it up and because it's one of my favorite things that you teach, tell us the secret formula for dealing with customer objections, not conditions. We've made that distinction. This is specifically for objections.
And one more thing about conditions is just, I used to beat myself up if a patient said no, not yet. And I would go, oh, I blew it. No. Conditions, rest easy, everyone, and be a human, be a kind human and say, we're here for you, and good luck with that, and send them a card.
And when you are addressing and trying to overcome conditions, I feel like that's the line of becoming sleazy. That's when you get to, no, they actually don't. Maybe they need it still, right? Maybe it's still the best choice for their health. But like when we look at the whole picture of a human being, do they need this more than they need to pay for their cancer treatment? Let's focus on life and death. You know what I mean? So if you're pushing treatments on someone who has a condition.
Having said that, you do have to get your mouth in shape before you do radiation. Just to be clear, I know that.
We're giving medical advice here. But when we say things like, when we look at someone as a whole human being and we can empathize with conditions and we can let those go, that's when you stay on the safe side of sales or actually getting them what they need and truly helping them in the way that they want. But when they have objections like time, money, and pain, and I would say that time and money, mostly money, are the objections that we deal with on a regular basis. And most small businesses do, right? I would say money is probably number one. And then maybe fear that it's a bad investment, which again is kind of money.
Bad investment, no perceived value.
Yes.
Is huge, which I kind of put under money, but it could be its own. No perceived value is huge. And it's kind of fun in dentistry. It's so simple. It's so simple. The benefits of you just focus back on 3 things. Well,
by the way, if you can sell somebody dental treatment, I don't care if it is going to save their life. People still will refuse dental treatment because it's just no one wants to spend their hard-earned money on their mouth. Like, gross. Someone who knows the value of it still hesitates to do it sometimes. So if this advice works for dentists who didn't go to business school, suck at sales, and are selling something really difficult to convince people on, it's good advice.
Apply this to, and I learned this from Zig Ziglar. My dad, no joke. Okay. Again, 1900s road trip, cassette tapes of Zig Ziglar, one of the greatest door-to-door salesmen and motivational speakers in the world ever. Rest in peace. But I heard so much from him and listening to those tapes. We didn't have our own Kindles and headphones back then. We had to listen to what our parents listened to. Thank goodness.
That's my problem, is I was listening to my iPad and not, yeah.
You don't have a problem. Back to, if you can sell dentistry, it's, in a lot of ways it's easy because people will get in, like I told you, that hygienist will fire hose all this information about microbiology or stuff people don't care about. And I said, keep it simple, stupid, right? The simplicity is, what are the benefits of doing business with us? And what are the risks if you don't? Period. Benefits of getting a filling the benefits of any dental work should be your teeth are going to look good, feel good, and last a long time. Period. It's not, I'm going to draw you a picture of a cross-section of a tooth and the nerve in it and what your cavity looks like. And, that's kind of old school. Really, people want to know, why should I spend money with you? Because your mouth has this going on, and I can do this to get it from getting worse. And that's the risk part of it. If you don't do business with us or invest in your oral health, is a better way to say it, is it's going to get bigger, more painful, more expensive. Benefits, risk. That's the conversation.
I want you to say that again. The risk of not doing business with us is...
It's going to get more painful, bigger, more painful, more expensive, and you're going to spend more time here.
That is true of every service-based business. If you're doing a good job, the risk of not signing up with them, and again, vet your service-based businesses, don't sign up with a vacuum salesman, but a good service-based business that is designed to help you grow your business, whether it's marketing, finance, whatever it might be, the risk of not doing it. So if you are a business owner like myself who runs a service-based business, this is a great place to start with your sales. Tell potential clients that the risk of not doing it is that it's going to get bigger, it's going to get more expensive, and it's going to get more painful. And then tell me how.
Okay, so if they have objections, they're going to say, yeah, but I don't know. And man, I have stories about objections. And it's like an onion. It's like an ogre. You have to peel it back and find out the real objection. They might say they're afraid it's going to hurt. They might say they don't have time, but really they're worried about the money. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I don't want to pay for it. Yada, yada, yada. And I have specific patient stories that are just so epic that I'm not going to go into. But if you're good at it, you can get to the bottom of it. And it took me practice. And we used to have a glass jar in our office. And as we got objections from patients and we failed at them, we would write them on a post-it note, put it in the glass jar. And then every staff meeting would go through the glass jar and say, okay, everybody, let's brainstorm. What should I have said? And it always came back to 3 words. Every single objection, thank you, Zig Ziglar. If you use the words feel, felt, found, you will overcome any objection by anybody. I know how you feel. Other patients have felt that way. But what we found is if we can find a way to make it affordable on a monthly payment, or we could get a third-party financing, for you, so that how much could you afford? But you have to make them feel like they're not alone. They're not stupid for saying they're afraid, they can't afford it. I totally understand. The economy's hard right now. You're not the only one. Other people felt that way whose spouse has lost a job. You're not, but what we found is, and then what is your solution for your business? What have you guys come up with? What is your system? What is your payment plan? Whatever, to help people get what they want. And people will always find a way to pay for what they want. I'll never forget watching American Idol years and years ago. There were two people that there was a female that was competing, and she was homeless. She and her boyfriend were living, no joke, in the outdoors, in nature. They had a tarp, under a tarp with a plywood floor, but they had a dog food, and cigarettes. People will find a way to pay for what they want. And most of us want the vacation in the Maldives. I mean, we want the flat screen TV. We want, the luxurious things, the comfortable things. But when times get hard, boy, that list gets real short. And I want to pay my bills. I want the groceries.
I want to feel safe. I mean, like, I want to feel financial security. I don't want to ever have to worry that I'm not going to pay my bills. I don't want to ever have to,
There's a podcaster I listened to. I loved it so much because I could relate to this. She says, I felt rich when I could go to the grocery store and buy the brand of butter I wanted, and I didn't have to look at the price. Do you remember those days when you're newly married and have your first kid, and you're just like, diapers are so expensive, and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy the butter that's the cheapest brand, and it tastes like crap, but I'm going to buy it because that's my budget. And man, you feel rich when you don't have to do that anymore.
I think the new version of that is when I can get on Amazon and press checkout instead of waiting. That is financial freedom. Or Kaylin, our friend Kaylin Priest, she always says financial freedom to me is I can take my kids through the Chick-fil-A drive-through if they ask me to take them through Chick-fil-A. I'm not going to all the time, but I could. And that is financial freedom.
Seriously, I wish that for every young parent, and I should just say mom. And it's just, I need to keep a filter on, but it's just the worst when that's all going on and then you get a cavity. It's difficult, but we can find a way. If we could find a way to make it manageable for you, is there any other reason why we couldn't go ahead and schedule that today? And those scripting, making that script really, really simple. Once you've finished the objections, you've gone through, peel back the onion layers, addressed each and every one of them with feel, felt, found, and your business's solutions. Then you close and say, is there any other reason why we wouldn't go ahead and sign or schedule? And then there might be another unforeseen objection. You thought you were done. You're not. Okay. Feel, felt, down, found that one. Now, is there any other reason you can see why we wouldn't go ahead and schedule? And eventually you'll be done with the objections.
So let's draw that out again, because you talked about it. But first thing is peeling back the onion. Let's find out what's really, really going on here. What are you actually worried about?
I would even start first with benefits and risks. Your case presentation. Case presentations first. You take a look at somebody's business portfolio, financial portfolio, or I look at someone's mouth and I say, this is your situation, right? These are your needs. And these are the benefits of doing business with us or getting your fillings or, and whatever you are selling, this is why you should buy. And this is what'll happen to you if you don't, and I think fortunately for our two businesses, that's pretty easy because for us, for dentistry, your cavity is going to get bigger and more painful and cost you more. For you guys, if people don't do business with you guys, they're going to have no idea where cash flow opportunities are.
Okay, I actually want to do an example because I think there's a lot of service-based businesses, especially small ones, where They don't have a sales team. They have to figure this out or they won't survive. So I want to teach them.
Right. There's the risk.
Yeah. And I'm one of them. I have always said, and will probably continue to always say, that despite the fact that I grew up with all of this knowledge, I am not a natural born salesperson. And I don't enjoy quote unquote selling. It's just, it feels uncomfortable to me. This doesn't come naturally to me.
Closing's hard for me too.
And I think a lot of people our age feel this way because we're people pleasers. So step one, benefits and risks. So let's pretend I'm selling my services. We found that this business isn't running their business by the numbers. We know that if we just come in and offer up data, literally nothing else, if we do the bookkeeping and offer monthly reports to them, that they will now have a target that their team will be able to, or they will be able to now work towards. And we know we've just spent a whole episode talking about all the benefits of that, just having the numbers available to them. So the benefits are that their business is probably going to grow exponentially just by having data to look at. There's the benefit. The risk is if they don't do that, not only could their business, not grow and stay stagnant because they don't have any goals and no one's holding them accountable. But additionally, one of the biggest risks I see with small businesses is they will run out of cash because they're not forecasting it. They're not looking ahead at where their cash is going to go. And if cash is gone, business is closed. So the risk is losing your business because you didn't hire us. And obviously I'm passionate about it, but okay. So benefits and risk, that's step number one. Step number two is really, truly peeling back the onion and finding the objection. So let's pretend, because I get this a lot. They go, I'm a small business. I'm not even paying myself yet. How can I find in my budget how to pay you? And to me, that might feel initially like, pain point is they don't see the value or, they're scared or whatever. But boil that down, they're talking about money. They want to grow their business to get paid. That's why we're in business. So they feel that if they pay me, that will slow that down or end it. And so then I'm going to feel, felt, found them. And I'm going to say, oh my gosh, I totally get it. I am a small business owner. I know how that feels to not get paid for all of your hard work, especially if you've been grinding and grinding and grinding. And you're like, when is this going to happen for me? And there's probably a million coaches that are over here promising to grow your business. And I know every time I get on a call like this, that's what everybody says. Everybody feels that way because small business is freaking hard. And if you're not in it for the money, what are you in it for? That's what I tell my clients all the time. So I totally understand why a budget concern would be a reason to not go with us. But what we found is when we put these numbers together for you and we present them on a regular basis, the profitability comes naturally. And then they go, okay, that makes sense. But, and then they give me another objection. And then you just circle back around, go all the way. And then once you've gone through all the objections, and this is the hardest part for me, I don't know about anybody else, this is the hardest part. Then once you've addressed all the objections, and we actually watched a TikTok together the other day of go through all those objections, make them say, do you have any more questions? What other questions do you have? What else can I help you answer? What else is going through that head of yours? Get through all of it. And then you close. And what I've learned about close is, and I'm still figuring this out, but what I've learned about close is then you say, can I ask you some questions now? And law of reciprocity, usually they'll go, okay, yeah. And then you say things like, do you understand what will happen if we sign this contract and if we don't? Are you excited to get paid as a business owner? And do you believe that I can help you do that? And if they say no, start over. Return to go. But if they say yes, go, fantastic. What's your name? What's your credit card information? What's, how long is the contract going to be for? And that sounds really aggressive, but if you've addressed all those objections, you're there.
The closing questions are always a yes or no. They're not open-ended. They're yes or no. And when they say, no, there's no more reasons, you say, okay, would you like to pay cash, check, or card? What's in today's world, they'll just say, okay, let me pull up my.
Do you want a 3, 6 month, or 12-month contract? there's a million variations of, but I think that's where what's interesting is feel, felt, found. I've known forever, and it sticks.
And any business owner, if please that's the other thing I'm passionate about is carve out time to sharpen the saw. You've got to carve out time for your staff meetings. And this is such a good exercise for staff meetings. Get that glass jar, write down the objections, write down your failures, and then practice the verbiage and the feel, felt, found and the closing questions. And then the more you practice, the more it comes second nature. And there's a lot of fulfillment in life, in your job life, where you can, help people get what they need and what they want. I think at least, for our two businesses, it's closer to a need. It's easy. It's an easy sell because it's so good for, people have cavities or run a business and need to make decisions based on the data, so that they don't crash and burn financially.
So they don't go out of business, literally. Or
I've been there. I made some stupid decisions owning dental practices, and if I had listened to my CFO on one of them, I would have made a lot more money.
So glad you said that, because the very last question that I have for you, we ask all of our podcast guests this, because as you know this, I know this, I inherited this from you, but I found that a lot of, especially women-owned businesses, feel this way, but small businesses in general feel this way. They are so scared of failing because it sucks. Because it's so painful, and we want to avoid it at all costs. However, we know, and we like to remind ourselves consistently on this podcast, that failure is part of the journey and that it has to be done, because that's how we learn. So, can you talk as much or as little as you want about your biggest, fattest failure? And I know, because I was there. And why that was a stepping stone to where you are now. What did you learn from it? Why did that have to happen in order to, you said at the beginning of this that your careers happened exactly the way you wanted it to, despite the failures.
I think I only can say that because it's been long enough that I can really draw it out. No, to be so painful. I was a state champ. I married my high school boyfriend. I had 2 girls, 2 boys. I just wasn't failing. Doesn't mean I was flawless. I have my flaws. Absolutely. I'm very dysfunctional, defective in plenty of ways, but stop it. And I had little failures for sure that I learned from. I would like to say I'm pretty good at learning from other people's failures. I prefer it. But when I epically failed with the one location that I purchased, epically failed. Bad buy. I made the decision. There's some due diligence that you do to make a purchase of a dental practice, and I did it, but there were some things I was definitely in denial about. I didn't want to look at, and my CFO was like screaming at me, "Do not do this." There's some reports on paper that suggest absolutely do not do this. And I'm like, yeah, but it checks all the other boxes and I can fix it. And I didn't. And there's just some things that you can't fix.
Because no one's going to listen to this. We're reminding ourselves that failure is part of the whole journey. And there's a lot of good that comes out of it, as scary as
hard things, and failure being one of them. There's an earned empathy that you get. And I got it. The street cred that I earned through this experience is invaluable.
Which is so interesting, because you think that you have to succeed, have a successful exit, you have to do X, Y, Z. It's got to feel like a bragging thing to earn street cred.
No, people love the earned empathy. People love to say, No, I get the good, bad, and the ugly. I've been there. I've lived it. I get it. I've had a lot of good. It far outweighs the bad by far. But I've had the good, bad, and the ugly, and it is exactly that, and devastating, if you will. Where it was really, really hard. But I guess I just go back to, I went from a consultant that could talk. I walked the walk on a lot of what I did because I was a hygienist and I lived it with my patients. I did the feel, felt, found. I got really good at case presentation. I got good at treating gum disease. I think I was a really good clinician. I should probably gather some data on that to find out for sure. But I loved my job. And then I started consulting and I realized I didn't have the owner's perspective. And I thought, I should go try this and, walk the walk and practice what I preach. And I did, 3 went really, really well. But the one was so bad that, I have got that earned empathy. I know that stress. I know the weight of the world on my shoulders. So I now, as a consultant, go back and say, hi, Janice, I get you. I lived it. But I can also go back to the owners and say, I get you. I lived it. And I know what that weight feels like. I know what that stress feels like. I know what it's like to stay up at night. It's hard. It's hard. I got you. I'm here to help. So that's what I learned. And that's how it's helped. And I do know that, this too shall pass is real. All emotions are temporary. And you can find, in fact, in the middle of all that crap show to filter myself, Joey fell in love and got married. So you got to look for the silver linings in the midst of the crap, and it will get better. Hopefully, it's like for my dad, that car wash debacle was a decade long, and it was difficult and hard. But find the silver lining in life in the midst of it. You will, and sometimes you wake up in the morning, you go, oh crap, I'm still breathing. But find the reasons to go, oh, awesome, I'm still breathing, and the sun's up, and there are people who love me and that I love, and then it will pass.
Maybe get a therapist.
Find a way to see if they have a payment plan.
We're big advocates for taking care of yourself, self-love, having some compassion in the meantime. But I love that
if you can only afford a Diet Coke, for your therapy, go to McDonald's. It's cheaper than So Delicious, Find a way. You'll find a way to pay for what you want.
I love that you pointed out that, when grandpa is well known in the community. I grew up running into people constantly who knew my grandpa. And we lived in not a metropolis, but it certainly wasn't a small town. And they knew him. And never once did they say, wow, remember that 10-year debacle of failure? You know what I mean? And it was during those, a freaking decade, which is a third of my life at this point in time. That is not easy. And that is not his legacy. He recovered from it. He came over that. And no one cared. No one watched. And granted, this was before social media and all of that stuff, but that is not what he's known for as a person or as a professional. And I guarantee if he could tell us, there would be a million lessons he learned along the way. But sometimes it's not a year or a week or a month. Sometimes it's a fetching decade. And that sucks.
My biggest mistake was trying to put an end date. Okay, I can get through this month. I can get through this week. I can get through till January. That's a mistake. Because you don't get to choose. You don't get to choose. But yeah, thank you for that. I had forgotten that. And I hope that one failed practice isn't my legacy or the future mistakes that I'm about to make, I'm sure.
I would say the other thing too, you got street cred. You have all this empathy now. Makes you a great mom. It also is, you come back to what you do now, and it's got to feel a little bit like child's play. Like, you can totally do this if you've done that. You know what I mean? Like, not only a little bit of the what doesn't kill you makes you stronger type deal, right? Like, if you can survive that, then you could totally go into maybe potentially like a tense staff meeting and win them over. Things that maybe used to scare you, you're like, I got this.
That's the benefit of age, for sure. Is you've done hard things and you realize that time still will pass, and this too shall pass, and things change, and then you go, okay, when other crappy things come your way, you go, okay, we'll ride this one too, and we'll survive. Yeah, I don't know how we got on that, but it's true. It's true, and your last question is a good one to ask everybody, is because that's where we're here, and nobody gets to not fail. Somebody told me, I'll end with this. Somebody told me once, a good friend of mine, whose dad was also a dentist, she said, and she was saying this to a general audience, not to a dental audience, but it spoke to me, and you'll know why. Because she says, if you forget to brush your teeth one night, it doesn't mean you're never going to brush your teeth again. You're going to get up and brush your teeth again in the morning. And I'm like, yeah, I absolutely am. And first, I don't remember ever missing, but if I were to, maybe when I had 4 young kids, I might have said, screw it, I'm going to sleep. But yeah, I'm going to brush my teeth again tomorrow. And I probably, for me, the hardest failure or battle, I should say, is like dieting and trying to lose weight or something. Or you just want to go, screw it, I'm giving up. I'm never going to do this again. It is what it is. I'm never going to try again because I just can't. But it really is like brushing your teeth. Any failure is like brushing your teeth. You're just learn from it, move on, and try again. Fail, learn from it, move on, and try again. And that's helped me a ton, because I maybe had some perfectionism for a long, long time, and I didn't even like losing a basketball game. My parents were like, I couldn't even talk to you till the next day because you'd just be so ornery and mad. And I'm like, it's true. And it was just a game, but I would get so upset. And I've learned with failure, there's still good things to come.
They are seriously probably like, it all makes sense now.
It all makes sense now, right?
Yeah, it tracks. Everything tracks perfectly now.
Thanks for tuning in to the Profitability Podcast. For more business and finance content, follow us on Instagram at The Profitability Project LLC, or visit our website at theprofitabilityproject.com.